Hello, lads. We're back at VCS English. I'm still Spoons, and I'm still joined by Rebel Fox and Marvin Nogi. Well, we've had a fun game of Team Secret versus Burst the Sky, but right now it's time to get down to business. With our match of the week, it's GAM Esports versus Cerberus at the top of a table clash. Rebel, I know you had a bit of shut-eye, and you're running on caffeine now. So I'm going to let you start us off first, because apparently that's the reason to let you start us off first. What are we expecting between these two teams?
Well, allow me to put it like ever so gently here. Burst the Sky up against the side of Team Secret.
Mm-hmm.
If you're considering this in like the reference frame of a meal, that was like the ice at the bottom of the beverage, and the entire rest of the meal is the series we're about to consume. Because we have our top two teams playing up against each other. They're both incredible. Both would make pretty good, participants at MSI. I know there's one team that very clearly is probably going to make it there, but still, these are our best two teams. This is about as good as we're going to get, and this is why it's our match of the week, which is why we're so hyped on watching these two play against each other.
All right. If I'm gonna throw up the standings real quick, and you're gonna see that it's probably not gonna make.
Yes. Yeah. Realistically, if Cerberus wants to even have a chance at taking that top spot away from GAM would have to lose 0-2 today and then 0-2 to BTS at the end of the week. So, and this would also require Cerberus to, obviously 2-0 GAM and then 2-0 SBTC at the end of the week. So, if Cerberus loses one game, they can't go. They can't get first. If GAM wins one game, they are locked first. It's pretty ridiculous how far ahead GAM has been this split, and it's paid off for them. They are so far ahead of the rest of the curve. But this, in theory, should be our finals matchup, unless we see a huge resurgence from SGB. But this is going to be insane out of these two. Very different teams as well. So,
Chat is saying that we're muted. I'm actually not sure if they can hear us right now. It shows that they can hear us, but hey, chat, can y'all hear us?
hello.
Hello, chat. Anyway, regardless, Yeah, it says we can. All right, I want to just make a quick correction on the standings graphic because our producer is absolute hot garbage. TS is actually at a game score of 0 and not +1. Can we fire our producer, please? But anyway, let's actually move on to more specific matchups for CES GAM. Obviously, there are a few lanes and obviously a jungle that we're looking at. Rebel, who you want to talk about? Throw the floor over to you.
I think the big one we wanted to talk about was Levi versus Artemis in this
Mhm.
race for MVP, because it's really tough to look at like GAM and just say outright that Levi absolutely 100% deserves MVP, because everybody on GAM is incredible. It's really tough to pick out a player, especially on that top side. That top side trio is probably the best. Probably the best that VCS has ever actually seen in its history before. And then now you're comparing it against Artemis, who's been such a pivotal point to the side of CES. It's just such an interesting combination of these two as the win conditions for their individual squads. We get to see them pitted up against each other in this what should be a fantastic series.
Yeah, Artemis really showing up as that one-man wrecking ball, and somehow, despite the massive, the fact that the rest of the top side should be stealing points away from Levi, he has had one of his best splits since 2017, where he's just come and he's been so fantastic that he's still topping the charts of the MVP race.
Interesting thing. So, you guys know probably that Levi's like a CSer, so like his CS is obviously the highest of any jungler. Do you know whose KDA is currently the highest? Also,
of junglers, it should be him. Should be Levi.
It's Levi. Yeah, of course it's Levi. Because those two are in very standard, typically inversely proportional to some extent to one another. That's like a negative delta. So you're expecting some KDA when it increases or decreases, that your opposite goes down. Do you know who the number one kill participation is also?
I mean, if you say also, it's going to be Levi.
That's right. It's Killer Queen, the best jungler in the VCS right now compared to Levi. But Levi's at number 2 with 71% because he just that's why he's just leading this race, because he's still insane. Like you said, having the split of his life, not just doing that farming, not just going for 9 CS per minute on Karthus, but also interacting so much with his lanes, getting a bunch of kills and assists and helping his team out.
Yeah, Levi definitely, a very pivotal player for the success of GAM. Now, I do want to move briefly over towards the mid lane because Yulwei, despite not being here, has requested graphics for the mid laners. So I'm just gonna throw to Mabi here if you want to talk about Yado on the side of CES.
The mid lane matchup is the most interesting direct matchup that these teams have, because like your main carries are Levi and Artemis. They're on a completely opposite sides of the map. Top, meh. Support, meh. ADCs, meh. Mid, this is where it's at. We have Yado, who is really putting out so many good numbers. He's second in a huge number of stats, but he is actually first in damage per minute amongst mid laners, which is kind of crazy when you think about the fact that we tend to think of Cerberus as a one-man wrecking ball. It's all about Artemis, but Yado is putting out numbers and he is having such a strong impact that we definitely he's definitely up there as like the second best mid laner. You could argue Froggy, but if you look at it statistically, it's almost certainly Yado, but then there's a whole bunch of other intangibles you have to work around.
They're big. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think part of that is due to the fact that now Cotty no longer has to do any of the crazy stuff, right? Where it's like Cotty, when he was on Flash, he was a really big carry, really big proponent into their wins and their ability to take first, last split over top of GAM. And now, like, when you're sitting with like Levi on your team and you're sitting with one of the best top laners in the entire league, when you're talking about like Kiaya, you talk about even like B and Style / Evie Love, whoever they're having in the bottom lane. When you're surrounded by this much talent, you don't have to do as much. And maybe that's part of what's helping Cotty, where he's much more about lane control and supporting people. You see, like, he's got Galio, he's got Set. He's not playing these super high damage players in this mid lane. He's playing for control, he's playing for lane dominance, and he's just playing to make sure that the opposing mid laner is locked in place. And that feels like the style he's kind of been adapted to this split.
All right, sorry, I just want to quickly apologize because apparently I'm muted when the graphics are up. So basically, the one point that I made that I want everyone to know is that Yado is, I think, performing better than Kati and obviously Rebel. Spoke a little bit to that, but Mabi, please, I know you have a point. Please continue.
Yeah, no, it's just as Rebel alluded to, it's these champion bigs. It's like he's playing so many more tankier engaged sort of setup champions compared to like the Zoes, the hard carries that Yado's been putting out. So that's gonna hit his damage numbers a little bit. But you're definitely seeing you're just seeing things where GAM in some games are just gonna win across the map by pure mechanical skill. So Cardi isn't actually able to get involved with like kill participation statistics and stuff because Kiai is getting solo kills, or there's 2v2 kills in the bot lane, or Levi's just popping off and deleting the entire map by himself. So stats are really hard to say because are really hard to show up when you're on such a stacked team, that because you're just stealing stuff away from each other, which then makes Levi's statistics so much more impressive because he is just kicking everyone else's butt in the jungle when he has fantastic players all around him who should be taking stuff away from him.
Yeah, that feeling when your team is so good that you're actually trash, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like in solo queue, when your team's carrying you, you just take it. But hopefully, when it
Never
comes
been
down to the wire, Cardi is still able to really shell out those, you know, high octane performances that we've always loved to see back when he was on Team Flash. Now we've gone over the jungle, we've gone over well, not really. We've talked about the jungle. We talked about, you know, sort of the ADC. We've talked about the mid laners. Maybe we want to focus in on, you know, the opposite sides of those matchups. Like we've talked about Levi, we've talked about Artemis, but we haven't really talked about Style or Easy Love and whoever CES's jungle is Shuhao, right?
Sure,
Yes.
yes. And these aren't bad players by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just not, especially in the case of Zhuhao, more so than, say, Style, they're just not very flashy players. Zhuhao is a very supportive jungler. He likes to track the other jungler, go for more counter ganks, and just assist his team. He's not really that superstar carry that Cerberus was actually meant to have, but then a whole bunch of things got in the way. So
Can I point your guys' attention back to I think it was week 2. We were covering a set of Friday games, and it was, I believe, GLX versus CES. And that series, I think, went 2-1 in favor of CES, but it was really close. And we thought at the time it was because GLX was really good, but as it turned out, it was because CES wasn't playing very well at the moment.
Yeah.
And that roster had Fuquan, that had LL, that had
didn't have
there's-
LL. Pun was just playing terrible.
Pun was
Pun
playing
was
that.
just-
Pun was playing bad, and then they swapped LL eventually. But like the changes that went over this roster in terms of like, okay, top lane Pun was still coming into his own. They were still trying to figure out what was happening in the jungle because Ego never showed up. So like now Zuhao has had to step back into the roster. You had like Huber versus Ron OP to try to figure out over the course of the split, and because of all those things, it feels so heavily like there's 2 rocks that have been on the team, which were Zuhao and Artemis. And like when you look at their stats compared to every other person in those positions, they are the absolute most critical to this team, which is the reason why like both of them have to be in discussion for MVP. Just because were it not for Zuhao and Artemis playing to the level that they have, or my apologies, not Zuhao, Yado, not Zuhao. My apologies. Yes, those 2 playing to the absolute top level that they have been for the remainder of the split. This team might have fallen to pieces, or they might have had a much worse start to the split that they needed to in order to actually get into playoffs. So like, just speaking to those 2 alone, Yato and Artemis are so pivotal to Cerberus, and everybody else has started to come together. Everyone else has had their performances, but if they're going to be able to beat somebody like GAM in front of them today, the number 1 team, probably the favorite to win everything in terms of playoffs and even go to MSI and things of that sort, it's got to be through these 2 because they are just simply the rocks that this team is built on.
But imagine how great it would be to end the season for CES if they do manage to beat GAM after just how poorly they performed at the start of the game. I mean, you know, they bring in they bring in I think they got another person on their roster, and you know they've sort of confirmed that, you know, they've been splitting time in scrims and basically giving the starting position to whoever's performing better. So there's always that pressure to perform on CES or you risk losing your spot. So I think they've learned from the previous split and the mistakes that they had with that roster, and they've sort of grown from it. And that's something that I think deserves to be commended as well. As we do jump in the draft right here.
Yeah, while we're just chucking through bands, the bringing in Poss we've had confirmation has really buffed up Poss's play because they've been able to just play against each other in like 1v1s and just discuss matchups and really boost each other's level. And a similar thing has been happening in the support. We saw Ron OP have a really rough start of the split. Then they subbed in Huber, who we thought, why are you bringing in Huber? He's had 2 to 3 splits of being absolute trash. And he comes in, turns the whole team around. He looks fantastic. And Ron OP has been subbed back in, and he's looked fantastic. And these 2 supports have been building each other up, just like the 2 top laners have. And this has elevated Cerberus from being, you know, maybe the 3rd place team, and really turned their season around and pushed them up to that 2nd place tier. And maybe today they can contest GAM for 1st.
I mean, even if they win, they wouldn't be first. But I get your point.
Well,
it would be very, very impressive.
Not in standings, but in power.
In standards.
Yes.
Oh, they get Seraphine.
Cuba, his most played champion, Seraphine, first picked for Cerberus.
It's not banned from
Makes
him
a
for
lot of
once.
sense.
It's not banned from him for once. amazing.
This patch has finally been the I guess tire iron to the knee necessary to bring her down in enough power for people to stop banning her. I honestly thought that was going to be last patch or even like 11.4, but apparently she was just too disgusting, and now she's brought down enough for people to start playing her. So now we just get to see Perma Seraphine at our, I believe, B1 from now on.
Perma Seraphine, Perma Kai'Sa. What more could you possibly want from VCS?
Perma
right?
Tristana.
Yeah, Perma Tristana.
Tristana's banned, thankfully, so we don't have to worry about that whole thing.
For now.
Unfortunately, that means we have to watch more Kai'Sa.
Yes.
And Kai'Sa has been sort of... Okay, this would be a very, very strange R1, R2. But that's what they're going to go with. They really want to lock down this bot lane almost as an answer to the Seraphine. Pick this kill potential lane. We don't actually know who the support is, who is in at the moment. If it is Ron OP, there's a good chance that this Seraphine actually ends up being flexed to mid lane. But this really makes them want to go, we don't want to send this. Do you actually want to send the Seraphine bot lane against this sort of kill lane? Maybe not.
Yeah, that does appear a little not ideal.
That's a scary front line.
It's a scary proposition to throw into like a Kai'Sa Leona lane, but if you're able to play outside of the effective range of Kai'Sa before level 6, like Leona cannot engage on you, because if she does, then she just takes too much damage on the front end, and it's really tough to deal with as you go through. But I kind of liked this. This is the one matchup that I think Nar's perfectly fine into, is the Scion, just because you can outrange him pretty much the entirety of the game.
My issue with it is,
Yes.
there are much better answers to Scion.
Yes.
There's the Aatrox, there's the Cho'Gath, there's even the Urgot that's been popping up in other regions. And this now just feels like, yeah, it's a sort of safe, generic pick, and it does fine into Scion, but it doesn't win the lane hard enough for me to really put aside just how much harder Scion will outscale you. And I mean, there is always the massive ultimate potential that a Gnar provides.
Wow.
But yeah, the jungle pinch is coming in hard and fast, and I mean, Olaf is still open, so that's not a bad option.
No.
But you're looking at your mid laner to see what's left.
Yeah, it is Huba on support, so the Seraphine, like you said, will probably be going down there. We are waiting to really shore up exactly which role is going where though, but yeah, I am personally a little biased towards the that is a Vayne, towards the Scion, and I guess the Vayne as well, just because of how fun I feel like this is going to end up, and that is going to be Yado's Seraphine, it seems, unless Rob mid. Let's go.
Rob mid, baby. No, it's I mean, taking the Karma into the Seraphine is fine. It buffs up your Olaf and makes it a lot more relevant in the game, but it's a very low damage composition from GAM if they go by going for this. And
they're kind of both low damage for the most part.
They're both low damage, but a Vayne
will eventually get
crap out damage.
Crap out, okay, that's one way to put it. Every day gets to cast a low damage game. How nice.
Yes. It's the Vayne has been a counterpick to Kai'Sa for a little while now. Both went supportive mid laners, one of which is more kind of oriented around shields, and the other is oriented around the healing and some of the poke that comes through, where I think Seraphine just ends up winning in the scaling battle. Both top laners should probably play a lot more for teamfight. Kiaya can play for a little bit of side lane. I think the one X factor in this game entirely is this jungle matchup, where it's like Zuhao, he's on this like Udyr, and if you do nothing early, then potentially Levi could just run over your entire map, and that would be how like GAM gets a really big foothold here. But if that's not the case, if Zuhao can actually rein in Levi, I feel really heavily like Cerberus's composition actually will just eventually win, just off of the premise of how they've designed it.
Alright, we've actually not gone over predictions, so I'm just gonna say mine, and Rebel, you can say yours because we are both leaving the broadcast after this. I have GAM 2-1. I feel like Cerberus could probably take at least one game. I'm not sure if this is the one. Definitely possible if the Vayne pops off, but we'll have to see. Rebel, go ahead.
My prediction was 2-0 in favor of GAM. I really wanted to see Set mid lane, but they banned it away, so there was that. But I still have a lot of faith in Toddy, and I have a lot of faith in GAM in general, so I still suspect them to win this game as well.
Okay, Marby, you get to throw your prediction when every day gets here, whenever that is, which will be in the next 2 seconds. So we'll see you on the other side of the game. Y'all have fun.
Well, I'll take that as my invitation to hop right in. It is me, Mr. Everyday, returning to the mic. You guys did fantastic in Series 1. Very proud of you, Spoods. And Marby, you know I'm always proud of you. But I am so excited for this game. I've been looking forward to GAM versus Cerberus. As soon as I saw that schedule, I went, this is the one. It's going to be a banger. And Cerberus have put together a mean draft. I think this one's going to be hard for GAM to navigate. If any team can do it, it's GAM. Don't get me wrong. But if Cerberus are going to win a game, like I predicted they would, this will be the one.
Yeah, I have been very impressed with Cerberus so far, but I've been leaning towards the fact that GAM has just been so good that I think we're coming into the late game, the end of the split. GAM's going to really buckle up and make sure they can win what they can. I'm kind of regretting that 2-way prediction looking at these drafts a little bit, because GAM is going to have to rely a lot on just being better players to make things happen, especially around this top side. They really drafted themselves into a sort of hole with like this Kaiser Leona first pick. I know it was the answer to the Seraphine, but Seraphine's so has that flex potential that you've kind of pigeoned yourself into just getting completely counterpicked in the spot lane. That's what's happened. The Vayne will sort of struggle a little bit, but Braum is more than capable to knock it back.
Yeah, not a good trade taken there, though. Huber did eat that Kaiser passive, so he has to munch down on some pots. We do see he's running Time Warp Tonic, just something to note. Getting that health back very fast.
Yeah, against one of these sort of kill lanes, going for that secondary inspiration tree is very good. Plus, it helps out your roams a little bit because you can just sort of wander past the mid lane and use the dematerializer on a cannon and just be like, "Yep, goodbye. I'm on my way." If your roam does nothing, you still get some benefit out of it. This mid lane is going to be very crucial. As Rebel mentioned, it's sort of shields versus heals, the sort of all healer dynamic, prevent damage or restore it. Cardi has the ability of really just rushing into that Chemtech Putrefy, which does go down to cutting down the healing. But there's not a lot that Seraphine can do to shut down shielding. She's not going to be building a Serpent's Fang or anything, and no one on this team realistically will be. Maybe Artemis does. Depends how well LS translates into that Vietnamese, because that's currently what he's peddling. But definitely gotta see what they go for. Artemis, not Artemis. Shu Hao has that bit of an advantage in terms of speed on the map, just being that Udyr against the Olaf, and because of that, he's gonna be able to have that little bit of a tempo advantage already running back onto the map as Levi is just hitting that recall.
Yeah, Levi does go and get some deep vision, though. They should be able to track Zuhao very well, as he's going to return to that Gromp straight on top of a ward. So they know exactly where Zuhao is. I think this is going to be a slow start to a game. With two farming junglers, or junglers that are happy to farm is perhaps the better way to put it. The enchanters in the mid lane and the Vayne bot, as well as the Psy on top. It's very difficult to imagine Cerberus wanting to take any of GAM's problem early. But we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, this mid jungle 2v2 is also quite fascinating, because early on, Zhu Hao should just have enough base damages to just tear through what GAM is putting out, but as it goes on, his damage is going to fall off, and Levi is going to be building not too much damage, but he's going to be building enough that once he's buffed up... Oh, never mind, this bot lane fight.
The exhaust has come out, but the Silver Bolts doesn't get procced. It does onto Star with the condemning to the wall. Very well done, but it's a good trade. The Cerberus bot side will take priority for now.
Yeah, and now
lane, Yado's in a lot of trouble, but Zuhao's going to arrive on the backside, gets the bear slap, trying to ward Levi off, but Udyr with that early damage Definitely able to give as well as he takes. And in the
Yeah.
end, it's just the wave cleared.
That is a ghost force from Levi, so it's actually a small win from Cerberus in that overall exchange. Ghost, of course, not the biggest downside. It has a very short cooldown, especially with just how early the Lucidity boots have been rushed by Levi. Not having, and he's gonna actually be able to turn this straight into this early instant dragon off the spawn.
Yeah.
So
The Olaf special.
that's the power of Olaf. Just so much early game damage thanks to the passive, and with a bit of assistance from B, that's just going to be a free objective picked up. And that's good news from GAM, getting off to a decent early game. They're actually coming off to a pretty strong lead, and that is all that's upside. Top diff coming in strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, to be fair, this is quite an expected top diff. This is Sion versus Nah. We always expect Kiaya to be ahead in farm. Kiaya is obviously an excellent laner. So
Up the ball.
not too it's not too unexpected to see Kiaya having a farm lead over a Sion, but Pun is controlling this wave very, very well. Making sure that he doesn't have to overextend in order to pick up the farm he can get. Kiaya has to come to him. So there is this little gold lead. You can see it's actually shrunk. It's ebbing back and forth. It is a little gold lead to GAM, but I don't think it's particularly consequential.
Yeah, and you saw that Pun was able to hold the wave extremely well, as you alluded to, and because of that, and even the hovering towards topside from Yado meant that once that was called out, Kia had to back right back off, not be able to crash that wave, and it meant that Pun's able to recover a bit of that CS gap that was starting to form, and that's actually sort of really helping the sort of slow game Cerberus wants to play. Of course, they have such great scaling in their mid and ADC position. Braum, of course, also beautiful. Yeah, their whole comp, except maybe Udia. And in which case, Udia's done his job if they get to late game. Like,
I mean, honestly, Udia with a Seraphine, the scaling, he doesn't really fall off. He's not, okay, I see where you're coming from. He's not really a scaling pick, but Seraphine plus tank, doesn't matter what the tank is, he's just never going to die.
He's going to be very tanky, fella, and never mind me.
Hello, B's in a lot of trouble, using that Zenith Blade to get out. Very clever play there, but flashes burn from GAM's bot lane.
Yeah, Zuhal start making things happen on the map, going into these lanes and trying to get those ahead, whereas Levi, he's focused purely on these objectives, seeing Zuhal on the opposite side of the map, straight into this Rift Herald. He's going to pick that up for free. It's going to be traded for a plate into the bot on the bot side, and Zhuhao and Huber lurking in the bush. So oh no, never mind. Never mind, Zhuhao. Didn't want to raid around and go for a bit of a cheesy re-engage onto style. It would have been very effective with B roaming in towards that top side of the map.
We do see Pun actually taking a pretty bad recall. He might have to use that ultimate to get back to lane, particularly with that Rift Herald from Levi summoned up. I think it's too risky to use the Unstoppable Onslaught back to lane. He's going to do it, though, as we can see how fast he's moving. Charging back forward, wants to try and save his tower. Will be able to as well, as he'll go over and smack that eye. Well done there from Pun, but it's a lot of gold injected onto Kiaya. That said... Sorry, I do want to let you in.
No.
Hello, Yado in some trouble, but that said... If Cerberus could pick which champion got that Herald gold, they'd probably pick the Nah.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said, it's a very low... It's really all on the back of style, being this Soul 80 carry up and with just front lines and supports to work with. He's the main damage threat. And if he's not getting up ahead of this Vayne, it's just more good news for Cerberus. That said, Style's going to quickly grab
Teleport coming in. B's in a lot of trouble here as Artemis moving up. Rough condemn. The Solar Flare with good zoning. And the Seraphine's Flash ultimate misses from Yado. That condemn from Artemis. Really just fluffed the play. He got his angles wrong.
Yeah, gives B the way out. And that completely denies play. Wasted Flash from Yado. That's now... very vulnerable for Levi to take advantage of, with the Ghost still back up and available for him. So now Yado has to play extra careful around this mid lane. And we're just gonna... It's still just a very slow game. Only these two objectives really making that lead. And good ultimate from Kiai to interrupt the queue. It's not gonna result in much, because I don't
Pun taking a lot of
anyone
damage.
can kill each other. Unless Pun decides to just eat everything under the sun.
I mean, the issue that Pun has here is he can't back yet. Normally, Sion can always back because he'll either have TP or ult to get back. But obviously can't do that at the moment. Oh no, this is about to be an absolute disaster for Cerberus. As Levi pops the ultimate style, will follow on in. Artemis playing well with the bush. Zuhao has arrived, but it's too little too late. And now it's just going to be the flash burned. Oh dear, the cracks are beginning to show, and GAM is worming their way in.
And Levi's coming for his MVP, baby. Artemis, get the hell out of here. He gets that double kill, gets the first blood, makes things happen. Zuhao has made multiple gank attempts to the spot lane, but Levi comes down and Levi makes it stick. And while that's happening, Kiai is taking this advantage on the top side. He's picked up a tower for himself. And this has exploded into a 2.5k gold league for GAM. That's what we expect to see.
Yeah, suddenly that is just a massive crack open in that gold league. Kiai. Oh no, he's going to throw a boomerang at the Gromp. Oh, you hate to see it. Oh, didn't quite steal it.
It's all good.
Didn't have the heartbreak for Zuhao. Now, the top lane was, of course, where the Herald was invested, so we aren't too surprised to see that fall down. And while this is a bad gold lead, this is not a good situation for Cerberus whatsoever. I would hesitate to call this game over. Just with their composition, I think they can nut it out. We know how good Cerberus are at team fighting.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not over. It's still far from it. But it's really just showing the strengths of these players. They're finding much better opportunities. Well, Shuhao's had a lot of presence in these lanes and a lot of presence around the map. He hasn't had impact. He's gotten a few summoner spells, but that's about it. Whereas Levi comes down, instantly picks up a double kill, and now B would be very spicy, but I wouldn't do it if I were you, buddy.
Would have been extremely risky. I think they were just going for a ward, making sure they could track the Cerberus bot lane. Maybe if it had been Artemis on his own, because of course Style could jump over the wall with the ultimate. In the end, nothing ventured, nothing lost. Zuhao will come over and pick up the remains of his Krug camp after his ADCs had their way with the big one. But he's still doing well, keeping up in the farm. He's actually a little bit ahead of Levi. Of course, Levi, with those 2 kills, has the Gore Drinker already. Ooh, this is going to be a clash. There it is, the teleport being used. Do they have one to answer? They do. Pun could come down and he's on his way. But Artemis stops existing immediately. 2 immediately unstoppable onslaught just goes into a wall. That's 3. Now we can talk about this game being over because GAM are just running the map and they're winning in the bot lane, which is a disaster for Cerberus.
Yeah, we saw one teleport come down. Pun's like, no biggie boys, I've got mine, I'm coming to help. But there were 2 from GAM and Pun. He's just caught out under the tower. And Star, you gotta be a little bit careful. There's still a turret, fellas.
But he doesn't matter. He just can't do anything here. They'll just go back, wait for the next minion wave. And how does Pun escape? Oh, it turns out they just let him go.
He just walks away. He's got his team coming. They just sort of wasted so much time there just trying to push down a few extra bit of turret damage, but they waste a lot of time punching onto the Scion, and Scion is a very beefy boy already at this point. He's got CS. That means he's got health. That's just the way Scion works. And even though B completely whiffs this up,
he didn't whiff it. He didn't. He put. I wanted to point this out because it looks like a whiff. It's not. It puts Artemis in a position because Artemis wants to tumble back to dodge the Zenith Blade. So you just put the Solar Flare behind him and say, well, you're going to get stunned by the ult if you tumble back. So you have to stay and get hit by the Zenith Blade. Yeah, that was what he was doing. That was intentional.
So he's zoning ultimate. Either way, it works out. It comes in and gives and there's just enough damage on the early game on the Kai'Sa. Now Kai'Sa's built up the Kraken Slayer, and they've break down another turret in this bot lane thanks to Karties roaming down there. It's going to be traded for a Rift Herald, so they have the potential to strike back, Cerberus does. If they pick up a fight or a good couple of picks, they can turn that into an objective extremely easily and snowball the gold out of back towards their back towards their favor.
Yeah, well, we do have the first few mythics on Team Cerberus coming through, as well, of course, as GAM. The Moonstones are complete for both of the mid laners, keeping it very healthy there. The Chem Tank, of course, for Udyr. Actually, going back to a Gore Drinker from Levi, we have seen Stridebreaker. Excuse me. A lot of Stridebreakers coming in. That item's obviously very, very strong. Has received some nerfs recently, so I'm not too surprised to see the Gore Drinker come back. Gore Drinker, I think, was always the natural mythic for Olaf. It just was a little bit undertuned for a bit. Not too surprised to see him going back onto it. Pun's been tagged by a W. He's going to yell cowards, and out he goes. Cancels it very early. I'm actually surprised. They want to turn it around. They get the Ragnarok out of Levi, and GAM just has to evacuate.
That's big ultimates down for both sides. Levi not going to be able to threaten the backline quite
this
as
is third
effectively,
dragon,
but no strong engage from Pun. They may look to just try
4.5k.
Trade it.
Zuhao needs to get over to this pet. Yeah, they're funneling through, which is dangerous into the Seraphine. GAM are fighting on two fronts at the moment. Not something you want to do. B flashing forward. Where's the Seraphine? Oh, there it is. It's on to 2. It's perfect. Artemis managing to kite back out. Can he actually manage to deal that damage? Pun goes down, but it's traded for Levi. There it is. That's a huge one. And now it's Cerberus. They're turning it back around. This dog's not dead. It's going to heaven. And that is going to be a 1 dragon fight, and they never say die.
And it starts off with a 1-for-1, but Pun gets to keep on going after he dies, and Zone Style completely out of the fight. It means Yado's ultimate and Artemis is just able to then free fire onto this front line, cut them down, turn it around, and now the gold is a lot closer to even. They're going to be able to pick up this turret as well and just drag it back to within 1k. Yeah, I think if I got that right. Nope, not quite.
Not quite. Roughly.
Now they are. Thank you, 2 turrets. Thank you, Artemis. Making me right all along.
You love to see it. Artemis will go back as well. Let's have a look at this one again. The big ult to watch was out of the Seraphine.
Yeah, it starts off well. They get onto Artemis, but without the Ragnarok, Levi cannot follow up on B. Does not have the spot, and look here, Style is just completely zoned out by Yado and the corpse of Pun, just running at him, and doesn't quite have enough damage to cut through it before it does enough damage without it being threatening. So in the end, it's sort of a 1-for-1 trade, makes it to a 4v4, but then the corpse ends up fighting Style away, making it a 3v4, and yeah, that's sort of unfortunate for GAM when the one you kill comes back to life and beats up your strongest carry.
Exactly, but we need to see this execution continuing. It was a heroic team fight out of Cerberus, but it did not pull them into the lead. It merely dragged them back to relevancy. They cannot take their foot off the gas for the rest of this game. GAM, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And Cerberus cannot feed them a finger.
Yeah, and I think the main thing we're looking at for GAM is do not let Levi get picked. He needs that ultimate to be able to threaten Artemis, because otherwise there's just too much in front of him. And if he's able to Ragnarok, if he's able to get a boost from the Mantra E from Karti, then he can just run down Artemis, make that Vayne's life a living hell. But otherwise, he's just sort of a big oafish fella that doesn't do a hell of a lot. He just sort of gets cut down. Unless
sort of dies. There is another catch. Kiaya going very far forward. There it is, the Scion Speedway coming in on the side. Levi has to pop that ultimate to get away. Kiaya's been caught out. They're charging on forward. B is the next target. Goes down to the holy bolt of Artemis, trying to redeem Cerberus against GAM. Huber running forward style. He better find that blast code, but there's going to be flashes over the wall, up into the air. The 3-hit passive comes on through, and Artemis claims another, and Cerberus are right back in there.
GAM are seeing openings, but their team is not in position to work for them. Kiaya sees a way to get him big Naro, but his team's not there. That's going to be a so it's a lost fight. It's going to be a Baron, and there's no way Levi can get in there. He doesn't have a flash. He's gone for this ghost. No Ragnarok, and Pun just takes the red buff as a bit of a
kick in the pants.
Yeah. So no. Poor Levi. He started this game so well, but the team fights are just not there for GAM. They do not have the front line. They do not have the back line access to kill Artemis. I mean, that fight was really just Kiaya and Levi jumping the gun, trying to take it all into their own hands. You see here, look, the entire rest of the team isn't around. Artemis is able to get away. Maybe if Style lands that W onto Artemis and can dive straight into the backline, you can see maybe they can make something happen, but at this point the fight ends up lost before it's even started. Cardi has 0 impact, and Style just gets completely run down by the rest of Cerberus.
Yeah, it does. And we'll have to just continue. This series, not just this game, this series is going to be team fight, and you love to see it. The raw aggression of GAM being met by the tempered intellect of Cerberus. It's why we're so hyped about this. There's no risk of us overblowing this series because it is going to be an absolute banger. I'm hoping for 3 games like this.
I don't want 3 games like this. Because I don't want GAM to be trying to imitate Cerberus, which is what they've seemed to have done with this sort of draft. I want GAM to play like GAM. I don't want them to just play a cheap imitation of Cerberus and then get beaten by Cerberus at Cerberus's game.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
So, their early game was strong. They went off to such a good lead, but they are not as clean in their team fights in this style. They are not as good at protecting their AD
Kiaya moving forward. Risky stuff when there's a Vayne and there's a teleport. That's going to be Pun arriving in the backside. Oh my god, the Seraphine all hits 4! That is an encore if I've ever seen one. Comes back out on stage and blows the crowd away. And now it's Artemis coming in on the base. He's got 2, he's got 3. Pun's got 1 and Cardi's on the run. And that is Cerberus once again.
And they've got the Baron. They can run it down. They can pick up this inhibitor with the death timers as they are. It's only a Karma that could... They may even just go to end the game. They have Pun to tank up these turrets. I don't know if they're going to go for it, but if they wanted to risk it, they're not. They're Cerberus.
It's Cerberus. They're never going to take... If the sentence says, is Cerberus going to risk it? The answer's no. Let's be real. They're not going to end it there. They're not going to end it there.
Go to a voice exciting region.
Don't you dare take Cerberus away from us. Don't you dare take Cerberus out of us. We love it.
Anyway, we see here Kiaya gets a little bit aggressive, and he's just not able to make things happen. But of course, the ultimate just cleans it up, and Artemis is able to do so much. Levi's gets on top of him and drags him down to half health. So imagine if there isn't a 4-man Seraphine ultimate. Maybe Levi's able to pop Artemis. Maybe they're able to turn that fight around. But it's just not going to happen when Yato's picking up massive plays like that. And now
we're running into... GAM is running into an issue in that who builds Grievous Wounds? They have none at the moment. And who builds...
Cardi. Build Chemtech Putrifier.
Yeah. Chemtech... But Cardi's not getting very much gold at the moment, is the issue. He needed to complete the Moonstaff. That was important. I think you're right. The Chemtech Purifier is the one to do. But you kind of needed it 2 team fights ago.
Yeah, here's the thing. He shouldn't have built a Moonstaff. He's built the Moonstone? Good. Moonstaff? Who are you buffing? You may be giving some AP to Style. That's your best case scenario, maybe B, but the rest don't have AP ratios. So giving them AP doesn't do anything. Giving them movement speed, kind of useful if you're Levi. But I think you either build an Ardent Sense a second, or you build a Chemtech Putrifier just to shut down this Seraphine. Because now Seraphine is loving this extra healing. The healing is...
There's the Oblivion Orb.
It's finally coming through, but it's probably a bit too little too late. It's 2 Ocean Dragons, it's a Seraphine, it's it's actually only the Seraphine that's really pumping out healing in terms of composition, but there's just so much regular healing in this game
Yeah. There'll be a lot of healing from the runes and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But the Seraphine is the big one. I'm sure we've all seen the Reddit post that kind of puts into, perhaps bug is the wrong word, an unintended interaction between Seraphine and Moonstaff. So, that's not great, but it is very, very strong. And of course, it's not like you're not allowed to pick her, after all.
And
yeah, go ahead.
I think TI has made a bit of a mistake by going for the Executioner's Calling. Like, there's the aggression. Like, you kind of want to build more damage on that than just flat tanky stats. But at this point, I think Bramble might be doing you a little bit better. You're going to be jumping into that front line, and Vayne's going to have to auto attack you. Otherwise, you're just going to run her down. So, I think maybe you just need to be a little bit tankier at this point. Try and provide more of a frontline force style to try and pop off. Because
the issue, I mean, I agree, but I think the issue is that GAM is already lacking damage. Their composition is just not a particularly high damage comp, particularly compared to Cerberus's. And if Gnar is just going full tank and can't provide that damage, it's just getting from bad to worse.
Well,
I guess it's a little bit of a devil's gambit. Like,
I think
you're probably right that you go.
I think if you
Bramble.
need building extra damage on anyone, it should be Levi, and Levi should be relying heavily on the buffs from Cardi to try and keep him alive long enough so he can delete Artemis with the true damage and the Ragnarok. But it's just they've got themselves into a very dangerous position. They've just drafted a worse version of what Cerberus has, and now that they're behind, Cerberus is just going to beat them at every turn.
Yeah, Cerberus is starting up the Baron, daring GAM to come close, come into Yado, come in to Artemis. Pun charging forward, doesn't actually quite get the knock-up. There's Levi coming in. Can they get on top of Artemis? They certainly can, but can they actually kill him? Because the Seraphine ult once again hits the high note, calls in the band, but they turn it around as GAM, they've stormed the stage, and they're kicking over the speakers. They've taken down Seraphine, it's Pun in the front line. He just doesn't do enough damage, and there it is. The crowds come forward, security couldn't get them out, and you can't keep a good GAM down.
The Seraphine ult was enough to cut down style, but when Artemis drops, so does the rest of the damage. Levi can put out damage. Kiaya, I guess turns out damage is good because when they lose style, they have secondary options. When Cerberus loses Artemis, they do not, and this turns out to be a massive win for GAM. They're going to get the Baron. They may lose the Dragon in the process, but they take the win. This is much better win for them. They even stole it out long enough so Style picks it up. They're way back into it. They can try and pick up all the standing gold that's on the map. The Baron is very slow, but no, GAM's not reacting to it.
Yeah, they can't quite get there in time. There's the smite coming in, so we still have the chance for the 4 Ocean Soul. And let's have a look at how this happened. It starts off with a bit of dodgy driving.
Yeah, and Punch is out of the way, and there's just so much. Artemis can only do so much to kite back, and even though the Seraphine ult looked good, Levi was in Ragnarok, so he didn't care. He just kept hammering onto this Vayne, and it meant all was well for GAM. And out of that fight, Levi picks up a triple kill and buys from nothing a full Randuin's Omen, so Artemis is going to have even more. It's actually kind of a... Actually, no, with the changes, it works fine against the Ginsu's build. Never mind me.
Yeah, of course.
I just still think of it reduce crit. No, it reduces damage.
Yeah, it's good, and it's going to be very difficult for Artemis. We saw how hard it was to get out of that one. And it's only going to get worse. The Seraphine ult does catch on to Style. Can they blow up this Kai'Sa? So far, it is just that first kill. Artemis on the side, but there's a solar flare. The Artemis is going to go down. Eventually, he's going to fall. He's in the Zonius. He's actually kiting out. He gets out. He's in the final hour. He can keep going. Look at all the healing coming out. Look at all the healing. The healing on Artemis has just won them the fight and gets them right back in it.
They managed to kill Cardi, which cuts out all the healing. And that means that Artemis survived so long in that stopwatch that he managed to outplay the rest of the fight style, tries his best, he can't do it.
I'm
That's the
sorry
top
to my
lane,
neighbours,
top
by
lane.
the way. It's a Thursday night, and this game is too hype.
Yeah, this is gonna be rough for them. But oh my god, this is just a back and forth. The gold is still within 3,000, and they're gonna pop open this inhibitor. Still 10 seconds left on the team, so they're not gonna be able to win. But it's more gold into the pockets of Artemis. It's more gold into the pockets of Cerberus. Luckily for GAM, those stopwatches are no longer available. And let's see what happens here. It's because Kiaya, he gets chunked out so quickly. They take so much damage and dies before getting the ultimate off. That Braum ultimate is perfect at denying it. And then Artemis...
He's on about 10 health when he... Look at his health bar when he presses that Zonya's. Or the stopwatch, I'm sorry. That was about 10 HP. He presses that 1 frame later, and the trick doesn't work. He doesn't get the time save.
Yeah. And then from there, they can't reapply the Grievous wounds. Then the healing just comes in and buffs them back up and it just wins the team fight for Cerberus. 2 minutes until the next major objective. That may not matter because GAM is just hunting. But they have to be really careful with Levi. He's only level 14. They have to try and get experience onto him before these sort of for the objective team fights, because he just can't win a smite versus Zhu Hao.
It's very difficult with the 2 levels down, and of course Zhu Hao with some very safe hands. And, Pun is going to pull the trigger on the ultimate. Obviously can't drift through that gap.
Kiaya's cut off from the rest of the team, though.
Yeah, if they can collapse on him. I don't know if they can read where the Gnar is at the moment. Hubert going forward. Zhu Hao wants to get into a bear slap, but he can't quite get them yet. There it is. Kiaya now actually on a dangerous flank, but he's desperately trying to charge up that Gnar bar. This is just poke. They're trying to get resources, and there they go. They found Kiaya. He has to go gold. There it is, the big Seraphine ult. Once again, they come out for another round. They've apparently had a new album to drop, as the Kaiser will be the first one to fall. Levi desperately trying to get onto Yado, but it doesn't matter because he's putting out the healing. He's putting out the damage. It's a double kill for Artemis. I can't tell who the lead guitarist is in this band, and they're going to run it up mid, and this should be the end of game 1.
Levi is the only one who can get even close to Artemis, but he cannot 1v1 him, and these Seraphine ults are just keeping the rest of GAM at bay. So Levi runs straight into Artemis, goes, oh no, I'm alone, and runs right back out again. And come on, Artemis, gotta be careful, buddy. Towers do damage.
It doesn't matter though, because you know who also does damage? Artemis does. And he played this Vayne to an absolute T, as did Yado. Honestly, all of Cerberus performing at an extremely high level in this game. They take down the Nexus, but we did not see a GAM that went down without a fight. We did not see a GAM that is going to let this series go 2-0. We saw why this is the match of the week. We saw why this is number 1 versus number 2. And we saw why I am almost literally frothing at the mouth for a game 2. I hope production's ready because I need to catch my breath. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Do not go anywhere.
I be in the clear? Or am I giving life to phantom pain? 'Cause it's playing out every note in the score. I surrender once more, but as my tears fall, they still kiss the feathers of a hummingbird in flight. Break it up into a million specks of light. Take the shape of an angel in the night. Carry you to peaceful peace. Grant me one wish. Send me one more kiss on the whispering wind. Like white horses running in the fields, something new begins. This tear I cry falls like healing rain, softly soothes my pain. This surrender, it feels like I'll kiss the feathers of a hummingbird in flight. Break it up into a million specks of light. Take the shape of an angel in the night. Carry you to peaceful fields. In your dreams of peaceful fields. In your dreams of peaceful fields.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the analyst desk here at VCS English. We are just off the backs of what a phenomenal game one. I mean, we tend to say, give me two more of that, but geez, give me like a best of five, like right now, of these two teams. That's how great these games were. Rebel, you watched the game with me. How are you feeling?
If I had to boil that down to just one sentence, I think that the performance from Cerberus was amazing. It wasn't necessarily that GAM didn't do anything wrong, but Cerberus played their hearts out in that one. Got to give them a lot of respect.
Yeah, 100%. And I think before I let Marby in, I think one thing that he really pointed out on the cast that we should all sort of pay more attention to is that we want to watch GAM play their own game, because I feel like in that game we saw Cerberus play to their strength that we talked about on the analyst desk, which was Artemis in that AD carry position. Meanwhile, we saw GAM try to do the same thing, but style really isn't Artemis. We wanted to see them play around Levi more, and unfortunately that just wasn't the case. Now, was it, Mabi?
Yeah, it's not just the fact that Style isn't Artemis. I mean, Style's a fine AD carry. He can absolutely be the one who can put your team on the back in terms of damage. It's just Kaiser isn't. It's just also Kaiser isn't Bane, Karma isn't Seraphine,
Right.
Nara isn't Scion. The team was just all around a worse version of what Cerberus had drafted. So if GAM had come in with like a standard sort of like Camille in the top lane and like this big and a nice roaming mid lane, and then they still got beaten by Artemis. It's like, and it's like, yeah, okay, you played your style, you took it to Cerberus, and then you got beaten in the late game through superior team fighting. That's fine. To me, when you're just like going in, it's like, haha, look at us, we're Cerberus. Oh wait, that's actually Cerberus, and then Cerberus just rolls you. Because Cerberus is just playing what you're playing, but they're better at it. Plus, they have a better version of it in draft. I don't want to see a repeat of that game, because I don't want to see GAM just be a fake Cerberus. I want to see GAM be GAM.
Yeah, sure. And just to sort of build on that point, like what would the GAM going into the next game look like if they play to their strengths? Personally, I want to see them invest a little bit more in Cardi, a little bit more in Kiaya, and not just funnel everything into style, but maybe perhaps some picks that you would like to see going into next champ select.
Much higher jungle priority in pick ban. Give Levi a super strong jungler. Don't let him get like 5 jungle bans thrown towards him plus the Udyr pick away. Don't hard lock in your bot lane R1, R2. You're going to be on blue side this time, so they can't have that happen. But yeah, strong jungle picks. Look for a good sort of try and counter pick, like good, strong top lane matchup. You had that counter pick with the Gnar. It was working really well in the other game, but then, it fell off. And maybe something that unlocks Cardi a little bit more. Get him around the map. Get him to impact these side lanes. Instead of just sort of hovering mid and pressing Q to clear wave.
Yeah, fully agree. We are in the champ select right now. We are seeing the bans come through. Seraphine, Thresh, and Kaiser taken off the board on the side of GAM, and CES, they're just pinching, the standard champions that we saw from the previous game. Nothing changing on their side.
Oh,
Trist
that's
is
just Trist. Yeah, Trist is blue B1,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
There we
it's
go.
just Trist B1.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to it.
Right, GAM's
Something
won.
I wanted. Huh? What'd you say?
GAM's won. Just pack it up. Game 3, let's go. Come on.
Yeah, back it up game. I mean, yeah, Trist is pretty good for GAM, pretty good in general. So there's that. I do want to say, I want to give a lot of shout out last game to not just Yato, but also I think Artemis and then a number of other people. Like, if you go back and count the number of team fights that happened where Kiaya did not get the ultimate because he was stun locked for so long, that's what happened around the second or third dragon fight that happened. It was like it was an encore into a condemn into a third stun that prevented him from flashing and ulting the team into a wall, which could have been a difference maker. So like when it comes to what one needs to change here from GAM, something with more complexity is very rarely what I like to go to. I like easy to execute compositions, but right there, Cerberus, they showed that they know how to play against anything. I gotta see GAM with some more creativity in how not only they engage, but also in just how their composition actually plays out. Already, Tristana Alistar makes it a lot more interesting.
Yes.
Holy bear would be nice. Yeah, pick
Holy bear.
or at least a Hecarim. Pick a jungler, man, please, because otherwise you're just gonna be hitting that third phase. And there we go. We get a Hecarim. That's a nice jungler that can make early impact plays and scales quite nicely into the late game for Levi to work around. Then here, I guess you could go for a support. It's hard to really decide what you want to go.
TK is coming.
Stick the
right?
Alistar.
Like, you have to know TK is coming. So like, what is the champion? I cannot think of the champion that like is picked in the TK really consistently. Gragas would have been a pick that I would have looked at right
Also,
here.
Blitzcrank.
Yeah, Blitzcrank.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, random voice in our heads.
Where is he? But
Who is
overall, I'm already liking, GAM's composition compared to what we
Mhm.
saw in the previous game. It seems a lot more GAM to me. They have their, they have more ways to engage basically, and I think that's the biggest difference that we're seeing in this draft.
It's a much stronger sort of early game setup that you can work around and try and access the snowball rather than just sort of trying to accelerate a late game team fight. It's actually pushing a snowball effect, and I like to see this Scion ban up against Pun. He has been crutching on this pick quite a lot. He hasn't been bad on others, but this pick just gives Cerberus exactly what they want. It's such a big front line that Pun can lose lane on, but he's still super effective in this team fight.
I do want to point out a little bit, right? And this is just going on a bit of a tangent. I really love Scion at the moment, but the way that Pun has been playing Scion, it's been questionable at times. I mean, if you saw those unstoppable onslaughts away from your team where you're the main front line, those are not the best. I think they actually threw one of the major fights in the previous game just off the back of that.
Yeah, around the Baron.
Yeah.
Around there, yeah. Also, if you recall in that fight, you want to know what actually happened? Ki hit an ultimate that fight.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. The fight around the
Baron was the only
mid-lane
time he got the
inhibitor.
ultimate.
Yeah, like the time around the mid lane inhibitor, he almost gets one off, but a good ultimate from Hubert on the Braum just cuts that out. And that's
You know how sick an Orianna would be in this composition right now? Like low range except for Senna. There's like a Tom Kench to grab where somebody could get eaten, man. Like you got two great ball delivery systems already.
There's a third.
They're just gassing me up, man. If they pick Orianna here, I'm 100% GAM focused this game.
Rebel, where's the script? Rebel, Rebel.
That's a dub.
Where's the script?
That's a dub, dude.
script,
All right, now
Wait,
turn it
what?
off. They got Trist. They got ball delivery. They got frontline. They got Orianna. They picked Gragas. This is gas. This composition is gas, dude.
When Rebel fell asleep during broadcast earlier, he was dreaming of this draft.
He didn't fall asleep. He went into a
Hyperbolic
trance
time.
and soared into the future and was like, Orianna game 2 GAM versus Cerberus.
I wanted Orianna last game, believe it or not, but like I didn't know if GAM really played it all that much. I didn't like the karma, but like it fits so well with what they're doing right now. Like it's not super great into Victor. Victor will eventually just like outpush it, outscale it, but like it's so mean with what they've designed right here.
Yeah, it sets up a beautiful zoning comp. They have so much like zone control between the Orianna and the Gragas barrel and even Alistair as well. So they can just really control these spaces around objectives and team fights, and then they can all in with Levi, Kiai, and B in style. Really, Cardi's just sort of sitting at the back going wee and Orianna, but they have the ability to make engagements happen. They have the ability to stand back and go, you can't come through a corridor. It's a nice, well-rounded team.
Yeah, at the start of the day, I really said that, I want to see Cardi actually do something. His stats aren't doing all that well. Now being placed on an Orianna, he's going to be, a very good champion going into the late game, looking for these engages. And I am really excited to see if he still has it in him to be this really great mid laner that we expect from this player. Rebel, what do you think?
Yep.
Your prediction's already wrong. GAM 2-0, that's not going to happen.
You want to hear it? You want to hear this? All right, I'm gonna say it, and this is gonna sound crazy. This composition from GAM would beat Froggy.
What?
I think that means GAM's gonna win. I think GAM's gonna win every day. Please
I need to take
it
away from the desk if we're having outrageous comments like that from the chairman of the Froggy fan club. The biggest holder of Rebel Franks on the planet Earth has just disavowed Froggy. Unbelievable scenes here at VCS English. It's going to have to be an investigation into that. But we have two very good team comps aligned here. I think GAM is playing more their style. I like to see it. I also think they've been gifted some power picks. We saw the Kindred's husband, Dan Bongito, power bot lane earlier. We know what this Tristana can do.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of early game potential. Now, I don't think the the Cerberus bot lane is going to be quite as ready to feed over kills as the mid to low tier Oceanic solo queue, but we're gonna have to see.
Style. A bit trucked there early on as Artemis wants to get onto those souls. Doing well so far.
And this bot lane is kind of a pain to play up against. You gotta like the poke is ridiculous out of just Tahm Kench's tongue lash and Senna's everything that exists. So especially when you have an Alistair that doesn't really provide anything at level 1, you really waiting for that level 2.
Bobby, I need to cut you off. Where is Huber wearing that ring? Why does he have a Doran's ring? And where is he putting it?
It's a tongue ring. I don't know.
I mean, low-key, I love it. More mana for tongue lash.
Yeah, no, it's still going to develop into the tank Tahm Kench.
Yeah, of course.
But it just gives that extra laning power, and you can absolutely get away with it up against an Alistair. Alistair has next to no laning presence, especially at pre-level 3. So you can just sort of land these tongue lashes and really put the hurt down onto the cow. Get a nice taste of that beef. Just get ready for that Korean barbecue coming later. And
don't make me hungry, Marby.
Yeah, look, I kind of regret it as well.
The lane has pushed in a little bit now for Cerberus. Ooh, Artemis, you hate to see that soul RNG as it flips the wrong way. Is he going to go for the Q? Nah, doesn't get it in time. And now Levi walking up the lane. There's the flash engage. Oh, well, that is a dead frog. Artemis is going to try and trade back. They're actually calling in a TP. Oh, this could go from bad to worse, but Yado just immediately flashes out on the run with the gravity field. But Style wants to go in, and look, they're zoned away from Artemis. This is just a straight 4v2. They have to run, and you know who likes running? It's Mr. Hecarim. Going on forward, Levi putting out those Qs, bringing the scythe around. It's not enough in the end, but GAM get a big boon in this early game, assuming they don't throw it. Oh, Zuhao getting baited, has to flash.
Yeah, very close from Cardi to pick up that kill. Didn't have the mana to follow it with the Q though, and the auto is just not enough. Kia getting a little bit bumped around in this top lane. Going for the grasps, so going to be a much tankier Gragas as time goes on. Not going to have that one-shot potential. But in the bot lane, it's just Style going really deep. Unfortunately, Levi ends up shoving Zhu Hao away from the team, so they don't pick up the kill. And it's a good start from B going onto the Tahm Kench, because, I mean, if you go onto Artemis, it just gets eaten up by the Kench. And from here, we see Style. He gets super aggressive landing that slow, but it's that gravity field. It denies so much, and then Levi,
hang on, we have a play on the other side as Zhu Hao's actually been caught out in the picture-in-picture. Oh, he comes back. He's actually just about lived, but we can see how aggressive GAM wants to play this. They're not Cerberus Junior this game. They're back to being the big dogs on the block.
Yeah, they're really taking it to Zhu Hao, punching through into his jungle. They weren't able to force him back though, so it's actually going to be just fine for Zhu Hao picking up those wolves. He's going to be climbing back up that health. Now he's the one looking to invade. Risky fella. There's a Levi coming at you.
Yeah, oh, this could go really badly. It's a full health Levi. He's going to get the bear slap. He actually should be able to run away against the Hecarim early. Yeah, he gets out. He's fine.
Okay.
He's fine.
Has enough mana to
but he has to back again.
Into a different stance, so yeah, has to back away. Only going to get that ward down, and Levi's going to ramp up ahead to a little bit of a lead. Not too much of a farm lead, but it's enough to make... It's enough with that one kill to say, yep, Levi is definitely ahead in this jungle. Plus, he's been keeping perfect tabs on Zhu Hao, constantly harassing him in his jungle, meaning that this early game where Zhu Hao is meant to be at sort of parity, if not stronger than the Hecarim, is sort of just getting wasted because he's just having to fight the horse in the jungle.
Yeah.
And now we have to look back towards this bot lane. B, he's looking for that Hex Flash. You can feel it. He's waiting to get a drop onto Huber.
Yeah, and after that early skirmish, the difference in damage early on, and Levi arrives at so much damage straight onto Huber. He pops the Grey Health into a shield, perhaps a little bit early, as now he just goes down. Artemis in a lot of trouble. Juhao is going to join the fight, but he just gets headbutted away. Good job out of Style as well. They are going to get onto B, though. Now this is getting disastrous. Levi bound up by the center W. This is a lot of kills coming in. Style gets ripped down. He is dead. And now in the mid lane, the party never stops. Cardi's been chunked out, and Cerberus, they punch straight back into the guts of GAM.
The counter gank is just too much. They've tried to turn around and kill Juhao instead of just sort of backing away with the headbutt to deny him onto Style. It's just, and because of this disaster, oh no, Levi's coming for it. He wants it, boys. No shockwave though, so it's kind of just no onslaught of shadows either. So it's really just sort of a hello, Yano. It was me.
But they do shove this wave in. Yado has to play super respectful. It's going to be hard for him to farm it up. But with Zuhao coming through, he will be able to catch most, if not all, of these minions.
Yeah, just good. Just a bit of pressure from Levi just to give Cardi that reset. And let's see here. B actually doesn't do a hell of a lot here. He doesn't really, he gets the thing onto Huber, the knock up onto Huber, but here Levi and Sal are just kind of out of it, and then they just decide to stick around to
we come back to live. And there's a bear bearing down on the fat man. Pun flashes away. Zuhao will eventually catch flash. Never mind. Well flashed out of Kiaya. He evades the gank. He burns his opposing top laner's flash. And hey, there's a reason we love this guy.
Yeah, it's a good flash for flash. It gets a really tough flash over the wall. Doesn't direct it. Very good work out of Kiaya. And that is going to be a bit more wasted time for Juhao, and that's going to be a bit of counter jungling coming out from Levi, picking up
a buff.
Blue buff. And he is well on vision, so they are pretty much aware of this. They know he's on this bot side, he's got this blue buff, and they're probably going to be looking towards this dragon. No, with all the vision, they're just looking to clear out that river. Make sure that they can try for something sneaky. They're going to looking to play around these bushes in the bot lane.
Yeah, they are hidden away. Huber is always going to be the target, but he is getting tankier. Yeah, in the end, GAM sniffed that perhaps this wasn't a good call. They back off and they'll just catch the wave.
Yeah, it's just it's fine just to catch this wave. You're pretty much up in CS. You're basically fine in terms of kills, because Huber, he hasn't really been able to pick up anything for himself in terms of kill and assist gold. He's just died twice, and now they'll look for a play into Cardi, but Cardi
it's just the Rift Herald rotate. It's the Rift Herald rotate. They use the Abyssal
against
Voyage.
the Tristana.
Yeah, we could be seeing a little bit of flashing it. Tristana takes towers real quick.
Yeah, they need to be it's not going to be too bad because there's no real response from GAM to try and slow it down. Plus, they didn't have a really big wave to crash, so they're going to pick it up in exchange for one, maybe two. Levi not able to get that.
I think it'll be two. It'll be two. I think by the time Pun gets there, the satchel charge should take care of that. So it's 2 tower plates for a Rift Herald. That is gold positive. Ooh, are they not taking tower plates? Oh, no, they're getting a third.
Yeah, they just didn't have a wave, so...
Yeah, and now they're doing a lot of damage to Pun. They actually want this kill. And now, but a teleport coming on the other side. There's a center as well. It might all go wrong, but the teleport has been cancelled. Yeah, the cancelled teleport will mean that GAM can evacuate.
Levi and Kia are on this top side. Can they prevent... Yeah, they can prevent the tower from going down. So it's pretty even across the map, and just be kind of mating Yano in the river. That's a flash out of Yano. Went for that kill, didn't get it. So that's something you can punish. If you're Levi, you now have your ultimate available. You can make these plays happen, especially if you have time. But they're I think they're still looking to make something happen with this Kiaya barrel. Kia barrel, like explosive cask into Onslaught of Shadows should be a dead whoever the hell gets blasted in.
Yeah, see, this is something Rebel was alluding to in draft. I'm not sure if he got a chance to fully explain why Gragas is a good pick into Tahm Kench. It's because if he
Separate
eats someone,
Tahm Kench.
you cast them. Well, it's not even just separating them. He eats someone and then you cask and you get the 2-for-1. It's pretty great because obviously whoever's in his stomach comes with him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some plays involving that. But I think at the moment, GAM are just kind of trying to collect themselves. I don't know if they've ever been down at 12 minutes.
They definitely have. There was that one disastrous game against Team Secret after a little style whoopsie. But and now Shuhao may be caught out here. Yep.
Zuhao's in a lot of trouble, but this isn't Udi. He's tanky, he's fast, he flashes. Onslaught of Shadows is used, and Zuhao lives, but Yado doesn't.
Somehow I think GAM are okay with this.
That's like you go to you're at like the shopping center and you play one of the claw games and you're like, oh, I want to get like the little soft tiger, and then the claw goes down and you go, oh no, I missed, but then it comes up with just an ingot of gold. Just goes, there you go.
It's not, unfortunately, not quite that. Shuhao does, I think, have a shutdown on him, so picking that up would have been a bit more gold, but hey, picking up that mid lane, keeping that Victor down, opening up some more turret plates, that is fantastic for GAM. And Cardi, he's having he's not having the biggest of impacts so far, but he's...
Doesn't need to yet.
He hasn't needed to yet. Yeah, it doesn't need to yet. You're just waiting for those big shockwaves come around level 11. Once you've got a couple of items under your belt, then we're going to start to see some fun stuff from Cardi. No ultimate, so just sitting in the bush, having a little fun time.
Yeah, he's having a good time. This Orianna just wants to chill out for now. It's in that big team fight phase that we are looking for them to abuse the short range composition out of Cerberus, with the ball, making things very, very difficult. Yado catches the wave. Yep, go ahead.
Now we have some downtime. I want to actually talk about how, please let me have downtime. How inefficient Levi's pathing has actually been. He's been very eager to gank and try and get these lanes sort of rolling ahead, but he's sacrificed a lot of farm to do so. He's fallen a little bit behind. He's been able to catch up just now, but he's had spent a lot of time in these lanes, shadowing these lanes, and really the only reason Zhuhao isn't further ahead is because of those like first 10 minutes.
Oh dear, Cardi in a lot of trouble, has to flash. The railgun came out just as a little bit of celebratory visual noise as he does go down.
Yeah, and now Zhuhao, he's got his chem tank. He is well and truly on the road to being a bit of a menace coming through this mid game. And he's going to pick up the second dragon as well, because there's just bot lane pressure, there's mid lane pressure. Well, I mean, there's no mid laner for GAM, so it's just going to be a free second dragon. Nothing on the other side of the map for Levi to take, except some raptors. Yippee!
And to no one's surprise, even Summoner's Rift understands what kind of game this is, because Marby, it's lit.
Yeah, it's very lit, and both of these compositions have a lot of damage on them and want that extra scaling to come through. Now we're just going to have to wait and see how they can pull this out.
I'm very frustrated. Series 1, I'm not casting, and we were getting regular clicks on Senna from the observers. Now I'm casting and they never do. Typical. I get to be the one frustrated with not knowing Senna soul counts.
And I just wasn't even paying attention to Senna's soul counts in that first series.
Yeah,
Senna was such a non-factor. But
it didn't matter.
Now
it kind of matters.
It's always a factor when it's Artemis. And just lots of way clear from start. They can't really hurt us onto this tower. The Rift Herald coming up shortly. This is the next objective to really play around. If they even choose to, GAM could probably, if GAM push their vision up, they're actually going for the rotation now. So they want to get this Rift out and use it to sort of get the tempo back into their advantage. Try and break open one of these towers and let them have that easy access into the enemy jungle so they can push vision and go for these rotation plays
Cerberus
around
knows.
Levi.
They got the blue trinket down, so they know they might actually try and just shove the mid lane. And Garm's actually pulling off the Herald to collapse on this. This could be big, as in comes Levi. He's fast as hell, boy. Artemis has been caught out. He had to flash over the wall. He's immediately dead. It's a disaster in the start of the fight. His style comes over. He wants Zhu Hao. Can Zhu Hao trade onto him? No! Kiaya zones perfectly. There's the shutdown. He couldn't. Don't you overrule me. And a barrel to make sure the catfish gets the hell out. It's 2 kills picked up for Go.
Okay, look, to be fair, Zhu Hao got that little clutch shield, and I thought, oh no, he's done it. He's gonna get the trade. But he doesn't. It's just enough health on style, able to survive that, and it's a huge blunder from Artemis, just flashing away from his time can't over to the Raptor. It's like, these will save me. They didn't save him, spoiler alert. But that's gonna be a pick up for GAM. They pick up a fight, they pick up this Rift Herald. Now they can look to translate that into whatever they want later on. Most likely going to be jumping down into that mid lane come in 2.5 minutes to pick up a third dragon. Artemis just gets souls from that, because that seems reasonable. They didn't up, though. They didn't touch them. Yeah, so... and it's actually going to be Pun on the spot side picking up first brick, so... Actually, it's not even first brick. Brick went down at the top side. Wow, I completely missed that.
Yeah.
There was another Rift Herald play. I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's alright, Barbie. I know you are. It's okay. We love you anyway. But now we have to see if GAM... Now that they... It's interesting. GAM was actually a little bit ahead in gold. I was going to comment on it. And then that little flurry of action happened. Now they're actually down. It's very, very close. Of course, a 400 gold lead is nothing. The gold is basically dead even. But the running joke became that GAM doesn't play after 25 minutes because all of their games are over at 25. This one's not going to be. Game 1 certainly wasn't.
I don't know, man.
They're going into some unknown territory here.
There's always the chance for some shenanigans, but we've got to see what's going to happen on. They're going to trade back. They should trade back a turret? No, they're not going to. Kia's not going to stick around, but the rotation coming through from Cerberus, they're actually always go first to these rotations, and this has not been called out properly by GAM. They stepped up really far forward, just maybe to get a collapse, but there wasn't really much.
Zhu Hao and Levi clashing in the jungle. Style can, of course, jump over this wall to join in. There's an onslaught of shadows. But the thing about fearing Udyr is you don't slow him. So he might be frightened, but that boy's hauling ass out of there.
Yeah, the onslaught falls a little short, and then Udyr just decides to keep running the way he already was running. So it doesn't actually help them out at all, but bit of a trade onto Pun down there. That's gotten him down to quite low. He's going to have to escape over this dragon wall. And now, with Pun... no, never mind. Santa's going to keep him in the fight, but now Levi looking for a bit of a flank. They've got the Rift Herald down. They can pop this very quickly with the Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, this tower is dead. By itself. Yeah, it's just the Herald charge. That'll go down. That one was pretty much guaranteed as soon as the Herald was taken.
But Cardi has no mana, so you have to be really careful.
A bit of a catch style jumping forward. The instant flash away from Zhu Hao. He gets bombed. Oh, but there's a big shockwave into the barrel. The railgun will come over the side to try and turn it around. Cardi is bleeding. Can robots bleed? Apparently they can as the other robot takes it down. It's robot on robot action. Kiaya in trouble on the run, belly bopping away. Yado's gone over the wall. He's zipping, he's zapping. And the death ray is living up to its name. Kiaya bearing away. And this is going to be a dragon for Cerberus. They move to Soul Point.
Yeah, they pick it up for free because despite Cardi getting a decent shockwave followed up by the barrel combination, that was it from Cardi. No more mana, no more damage. Style was completely chunked out by Yado, so there was nothing coming out for GAM into that when the fight actually kicks off, and it's just easy for Cerberus to run over them. They pick up that dragon, and now the gold is, the gold's only within 1,000, but there's those extra stats coming in from the Infernal, coming in from the Clouds in terms of ability haste. So it just means that Cerberus is just even more ahead than how they should feel looking just at the gold total.
Yeah, Cerberus is looking very powerful. And Beast, I know you're in the chat. Can you let us know how many people predicted a Cerberus 2-0? Because was it just Side? Was it just Side?
Side
Did
went
he go
2-1.
2-1? Oh god. Well, yeah, this is a very unexpected result. Cerberus showing up, showing why we call them the second best team. Let's have a replay. Marby, take it through.
And you see right from the start, Cardi has 0 mana. He has enough for that 1 shockwave. And it's a good shockwave, but here, look, Yato and even the railgun, that just chunks out style, and that means all the damage is gone. It's just all
Style
gone
doesn't
from
exist.
there. Yeah, style can't enter the fight. It's Cardi used his only mana to get a shockwave, and it just meant that the good follow-up ultimate from Kiaya just delivers pun into the waiting arms, where he's like, "You can't kill me anymore. I'll just kill you." And
yeah, that railgun hitting onto style was sort of, it took him from the I could fight but it's risky to the I cannot participate health threshold, and it's such a huge difference. It was speaking of style, has been caught out, but it will just force a jump. Nothing important.
Yeah, and we're
GAM's actually still ahead in gold. I don't know how they do this.
I mean,
they're cheating. Like they've got. Levi has more camps than the other team.
It's the bot lane. It's the bot lane.
It is the bot.
Because, well, like, you have to compare the Tahm Kench CS to the Tristana, and there's just a lot of difference there. As my throat decides to stop working. And so that's what's keeping them in the game in terms of gold. But they are down in momentum. They are down in pressure. They are down in vision. Their vision is so shallow. They have 3 wards around these Raptors. Whoop-de-doo! Raptors are not going to win you anything this game unless Zhuhao really decides he hates chicken and will throw away his life for them. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's more than happy to just continue running around and slap up his own chickens, not trying to over-aggress into picking up some extras. I don't know. He doesn't need an extra wing in his Singer box. He's fine.
So let's check in with some items. Obviously, everybody has a mythic. Kiaya opting for the Frostfire Gauntlet. Not too surprising. This is a true tank Gragas. Not something we always see in the VCS. I'm sure our viewers that perhaps watch other leagues more often will say, well, yeah, of course. In the VCS, a lot of the top laners have favoured that AP Gragas, so it's good to see a bit of the tank.
Yeah, a lot of the time we see the AP Gragas coming into the Gnar matchup, which that's really the only time we end up seeing Gragas top for some reason. And so then, yeah, AP Gragas makes a bit more sense, but even then... Oh, here we go, Levi!
Yeah, Levi charging forward with that pony. He wants to get as much damage done as he can, but it doesn't matter because Artemis is there. Cardi turns it around with a big shockwave onto Zhuhao, and Levi is healing up. This Hecarim healing is really, really gross. Style has to back off. Yeah, it's true, but it does mean round 2 can still occur. And GAM got the pick.
Yeah, GAM got the kill, but they lost the health trade. And especially with Artemis being able to just heal up the rest of Cerberus, it means that they actually lose the objective that is the mid lane turret. And now Cerberus able to rotate and get priority onto this dragon. They don't need to reset, but it looks like they're going to choose to. There's still 20 seconds, so they
need to spend gold. They need to spend their gold. It's important. Style picking up the red buff. We need to see the scoreboard come back up. We need to check in on some items.
Yeah, we really need to see
incredibly important. I'd love to see a Senna soul count, but VCS observers, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, we're just got to sort of see how GAM can set up this fight. There's no unbreakable will on Alistair, so he's going to be a reasonably squishy lad. But that's a good start.
The engaged Styles jump forward. There's a shockwave, but look at the railgun onto Style. Style has had no impact. but they've managed to turn it around and turn it around onto Pun. There's the damage going in, Levi. That reset Styles jump. He's aggressive once more. Diving forward onto Huber. He's got the satchel charge. He's got the satchel charge. This is GAM. This is GAM. This is what they do. This is how they win the VCS.
And they won a team fight they had no right to win, and now they can take their cake and eat it too. They're going to peel on. They're going to get this big front line so Style can melt this Baron. Cardi's going to take this Dragon. They get everything from this team fight. It is such a huge win, a huge turnaround. The gold is now 3,000 in the lead for GAM. They have another 5 minutes before Dragon Soul is even a concern again. How can they push this lead? How can they push this Baron? There's still standing gold on the map. They can make this go to game 3. And here we go. It's all this, and it looks really kind of scuffed. The Shockwave doesn't do much, but Style
that was all B.
Die.
That was all B. He gets back there. The bloody Renekton, I don't even know what his weapon's called, the big weird knife, is halfway through the lethal swing, and then out of nowhere, it's Superman Alistair coming in there and saying, nah, mate, that's my ADC. He's living, he's carrying.
Play Bouncer Alistair, it's really good. You don't need to engage all the time, you just need
He
to
did engage, he did both.
You did both.
Crazy.
He did both. He's B. He is consistently up there in the VCS. He has a great support, and he's looking across at SGB. He's looking at Taki and saying, "No, I'm here. I'm the king, mate." He's making his case. He's trying really hard, and he keeps Style alive, so Style can pop off on the back end of that team fight. Levi kicking down Artemis, trading his life with that is the exact thing they need to keep that fight rolling. It turns into the Baron, it turns into the Dragon, and now it's going to turn into more gold off these turrets. And Style doesn't need much time with them. He doesn't need much time at all.
Tristana gives a mean look to the tower, and they explode out of respect. And while it may not be the best Tristana game ever, he is developing into an extremely strong carry. Has those 4 kills, has 270 farm. Kiaya, he wants this, so does Levi. Look at him run. He wants to knock back that Kench. He had the center inside. There it is. Look at all of these plays. Bang, bang, bang. Cerberus are getting decapitated. Doesn't matter how many heads that dog has. The GAM are going to come forward. Their blades are sharp enough to take him down. They breach through the gates of hell. They're storming into Tartarus, and we are going to go to a game 3.
And Levi decides, no, I'm winning this game now. He comes in, finds a massive pick-off onto the bot lane of Cerberus, and that is enough for them. They still have the Baron buff. They have all members alive. That is a dead Nexus coming up, and it's a game 3. GAM still in this.
And it's been a long night. We've had tech issues. We had a classic of a Series 1, and so far this match of the week is 100% delivering. 110% delivering. I'm glad I didn't cast the first series, because I wouldn't have made it through this one. I needed all of my energy. Wow, 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 wow.
And by the way, with that win, GAM locks first place. It is impossible for Cerberus to beat them in game score now.
It is true. That is GAM coming ahead. They lock in first place. It was already practically locked. But before we talk about any standings, that's something for you analysts. I hope everyone is enjoying the show. If you are, let us know in chat. It makes me feel better about myself. We'll talk to you in 10 minutes. You have to see how this one ends.
Welcome to the world, no heroes and villains. Welcome to the war, we've only begun. So pick up your weapon and face it. There's blood on the ground, go and take it. You get one shot to make it out alive. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your bones, go and take it. This is your moment, now is your time. So prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. Welcome to the climb up, reach for the summit. Visions brave, the one false, steadily the end. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your blood, go and take it. This is your moment. Take to the skies, go. Prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. It is you fight among the dead beneath the dirt. Or do you know yet? Or do you want it? And when the giants call to ask you what you're worth, or do you know yet? When or die, prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. Prove yourself and rise, rise. Pick up your weapon and face it. Rise.
and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCS English Analyst Desk. My name is Spoods, and I'm joined still by Rebel and Mabinogi for what is going to be the final game of a very, very exciting day. Now, we've all watched that game, and oh boy, I'm exhausted just watching it. So, Rebel, I'm just going to give you the floor. You can tell me a little bit about how you felt after watching that.
Game one was chalk with just like I think issues from the side of GAM in that they were very they're wearing their composition on their sleeve, and so CES was given the opportunity to play into everything that they were going for. So this second draft I loved a lot more, not only because it has everything that you would want inside of a composition, but it also gave them a lot more ability to flex their kind of individual skills. So while earlier in the game it didn't look super great, they weren't able to pull every single league. As the late game came around and as that team fighting became much more important, the individual skill from each player definitely showed itself, and everybody kind of came together. I know everybody talked about B having a really great performance. Cotty had kind of a low key but very good performance. Levi was out there, having some spectacular stuff. Everybody contributed in their own way and in their individual strengths to actually make this one work.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that you pointed out, before we actually went into the game, is that you wanted to see more complexity, and you wanted to see, more skill expression come through from GAM. And I think that basically hit the nail on the head because that's what we saw come through from the draft. And we saw that GAM basically said, okay, fine, you want to do this? We'll just outplay you all game and we're just going to take it home, right? We are jumping into the draft here. I have been messing with mic settings, so this might get a little sketchy. I'm just going to transition anyway. And I think that's fine. But take us through the draft. Come on.
Yeah, well, GAM has sort of really recognized that the Seraphine in the hands of Yado was just absolutely bonkers, and I'm
Disgusting.
very happy to remove that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them continue to go for the red side, just ban. I don't remember what their third ban has been, but they're gonna have to leave it open, and I don't think it's something that is terribly frightening overall. It was a Scion last game, and I mean, you can always look to pick that away for Kiaya anyway. So, have to see where they want to go from here.
Yeah, KL do just fine on the Scion. They do take the Hecarim away from Levi though, and that was quite the Hecarim performance coming through from the GAM jungler, so not surprised exactly. We will be interested to see how Zuhao actually performs on the champion as well. They do lock in the Kai'Sa for style though, and I might take a little bit of issue to this as well because, if you cast your mind back to game number 1, sure, the composition wasn't all that good, but it was built to facilitate style. And style on the Kai'Sa was really just a lackluster performance, to put it that way.
Yeah, the Kai'Sa really wasn't able to have that impact that the Vayne was. Kai'Sa's not really that same style of hyper carry, so having that set up around her didn't really work at all. But what we have now could still pivot into something very strong. They still have the option to lock in a very strong top laner right now. They could pick up the Scion if they so wanted.
Okay.
Or just going for an Alistair that gives you your bot lane matchup, counterpicking that away is fine. Again, you still have that R4 pick. That's probably going to be your top laner. So, I mean, they can flex. They could go for one of those sort of flexible picks, like something, say, a Jace or a Malphite or something, that they can just put into whichever lane they want.
Yeah. B last game on the Alistair one. Chef's Kister was so good, man. So good. I really like to see, Artemis moving on to the Zaya because I feel like in the previous game on Senna, he didn't really have that good of a time, that much of an ability to really impact the map. Now on Zaya, I would say definitely the ability for him to really do stuff and really try to carry his team is much greater. Rebel, what are you thinking?
Yeah, from the side of Cerberus, I feel like their bot lane is just really winning right now. You see Zaya into Kai'Sa, you've seen it for a few patches now, even before Zaya got really popular, and especially since a lot of ADCs got kind of brought down to her level, Zaya's been perfectly fine. And now it's a matter of like, if you're playing super aggressive in this lane as the Leona, it's kind of difficult to play into Alistar. But if you're playing in normalized laning phase where you're not just like going in again and again trying to find these aggressive plays into Kai'Sa, there's like a back and forth between Leona and Alistar, where both of them can CC lock and then punish the other one for attempting something aggressive, which ultimately I think benefits the Xayah because A, you have longer range, B, you have an attack speed steroid, and 3, or C, I forget, I was doing which lettering or numbering, whatever it was. But the Feather Pull is something that is both an execute and also the capability of actually putting extra damage in at the end of a trade, which just makes it so good into the likes of Kaiser, who's going to throw an ability to start try to get a Plasma proc, so that Feather Pull is going to shift it back into your favor. So like right now, the bot lane for the side of CES looks a lot better, even though I'm comfortable with GAM being where they're at. The 2 control mages, the Cinder being taken off the board, has now prompted Kadi to go back to Twisted Fate, however.
Interesting. I was expecting something more along the lines of the Victor's, that sort of takeaway, but there's a Silas lock-in. Really not the best target selection for those ultimates. Really only that Unbreakable Will being that big pickup. Depends on what Kiaya wants to lock in. It sort of means that Malphite is probably off the table. But if you're saving yourself that counter pick, you're probably not going to be picking that Malphite.
Okay, let's go. Counter pick. What's it gonna be? Rebel. You've been the prophet all day. What are they gonna pick?
Into Renekton? Probably Gragas, if I'm being honest, because they played it last game. But like, if you want a crazy counter pick, it would be like Quinn or something.
Oh, there you go. You picked it. It's the Gragas.
Quinn would be better.
Cursed us with your boredom.
I wanted Quinn. I like Quinn a lot
Same.
more. But...
Quinn, definitely not a Kiaya pick, but with this lock-in, it's still quite a low damage composition from GAM.
Yeah.
Unless
Full
you
AP.
go for the AP Gragas, which, I mean, then you have a very strong AP topside, but I definitely think more something more like a Camille or something like that would have been a lot better. That way you can... It's not the best matchup individually into Renekton, but you can always bring the Twisted Fate up into it and turn that around. So, I'm not a huge fan of this Gragas pickup, but it should work out fine for GAM as the game progresses.
Yeah, overall, I'm just not really a big fan of GAM's composition in general. I feel like what Cerberus has got from themselves is just so much more solid than what GAM has drafted. I feel like, they have a lot more tools at their disposal to really try to get a hit early and try to snowball the game.
It's a composition for GAM where it feels like really heavily it's going to be about how Kadi and Yato interact with one another. And the way that this lane has been going today, Yato has, I think, been outperforming Kadi despite his performance in the previous game.
Agreed.
Which implies that Levi is going to have to break Kadi out of mid lane pretty consistently to try to attack these side lanes that are pretty good for Cerberus to start things off. So again, it is a skill-expressive composition that doesn't look as good on paper into the later stages of the game. This is much more resemblant of what we saw out of GAM in game number 1.
Alright, Rebel, who's gonna win?
It's going to pain me to say this, but I think Cerberus has a better composition here, and I can't deny the Artemis power pick with this Xayah right now.
Yeah, I fully agree, and it's time to hand the reins back over to Everyday, so Everyday and Mabi, please take us home.
Quiet. Can you hear that? It's the sound of the hype building. Building as we've come out of Game 2. Both Game 1 and Game 2 have been fantastic. Some of the best games we've seen in a while. And now it's building. Building through the break. Building through the analyst desk. And it's coming into the Rift. We are on to Summoner's Rift. We are going into Game 3 of Cerberus versus GAM. Number 1 versus number 2. This is potentially our finals matchup. Marby, I'm glad you're here with me. I wouldn't pick anyone else, except maybe your way, to come on this journey. Ooh, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be very spicy. We're also getting to be very, very late. It's pushing 3 p.m. where we are. It's not quite that.
To be clear.
3 a.m. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. That's how late it is. We've wrapped right back around to PM. No, it's not quite as bad for the players in Vietnam, but it's getting quite late. So maybe we start to see the cracks show. Bit of
Scrap.
yeah, bit of fatigue coming into play. Maybe this is where GAM can thrive and just sort of lapses of judgment, lapses of
Potential. Yeah, I mean, it is potential. It is definitely potentially the case. As I think the analyst desk heard, me and Marby are in the same apartment, so sometimes if I get very happy, you can hear me even when you're not meant to. I was really happy to see the Silas pick. He's one of my favorite champions in the game. I think it was a really good pick. Yado's been having an incredible series. So I really do think he can have a big impact on this Revolutionary. And speaking of which, they're going to start it off well as Hecarim comes in the mid lane. Carty could not lock the gold card on the first rotation. Has to burn the flash.
Yeah, kind of unlucky with that card draw. Means he has to cycle through the entire thing to pick that gold card again. It's good start from Zhuhao, already making his presence felt on the map. He did sort of sit around for a little while, so that's a lot of extra time that that Levi is going to have to make a bit of a return play happen. He's going to cut his way through the mid lane, try and push into this jungle with the help of Carty, but just sort of harass Zhuhao off this blue buff.
This is dangerous.
Yado having to pick up the wave though, and with Kiaya making sure to time in that shove into the top side as well.
And Pun has to back.
So low.
Bit of a disaster, but he of course does have teleport. And this is the bot lane. As Huber has gone in and died. Now they're going under the tower. Artemis is in a lot of trouble. He's got cleanse. He doesn't have heal. He doesn't have exhaust. He flashes away. Now B's in trouble, going very low. Will the tower fire once more? It will not. Can the Feathers get over? Chasing Ali into that bush is very, very scary. Yeah, he's level 3. He can turn this around with a headbutt pulverize. No, in the end, they just back out. They will take their first blood, and they'll go home as they go on Kiaya, but a belly bop away.
Yeah, good belly slam just to dodge that abduct. It looked very dangerous from Artemis, but B not really wanting to pull that trigger on the Q flash to make the turnaround happen. And now they have to be super careful. They cannot be greedy with their backs here. Huber can just frightens them off. Again, it's still a win for GAM, but that big pushback, it stops their back. And let's see what happens here. It's a miss Zenith Blade into a good.
He doesn't proc his aftershock at any point.
No, just he's been chunked out by Style, and here we're still looking. B doesn't have his ultimate back up.
Pun's dead. It's gone.
Pun's dead. He's pushing to the top side. He's pushing to the top side, and Levi's there to punish. It's just they're seeing the gaps. It's coming through. It's really late, and this is just GAM working on pure mechanical autopilot, and that's where they should be beating Cerberus every time.
Has to be careful. Both supports have come up to the mid lane.
Yeah, and you see Punch just trying to push and the
silly. He doesn't know where the enemy jungler is. You can't do that. Pun's dead.
There is a potential that he's calling. He should be calling out to his jungler saying, "Get where is Levi most likely to be?" And if Zhuhao's saying he should be bot side around about now, that's where he's pushing up. But if he's not, but the jungler wasn't tracked properly, Levi's on that top side. He punishes Pun from overstepping.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and we now see a bit of the Levi effect. He was 2 levels up mere moments ago, and yeah, he shows his face on the bot side, and the Cerberus bot lane just have to say, all right, you get tower plates, and we lose about 15 minions. They're going to try and get back under tower, but there's the knockup. The teleport's coming in. Zhuhao the reinforced, but it's too little too late. This is a disaster for Cerberus. They're going to get corralled in. Under the tower you go. Yado arrives, but he goes into the middle of the team with the abduct. No, he's the one that's been abducted. He's gone on the mothership. And they get out. They don't lose anything. End it now. It's over.
It comes down to it. Fatigue is kicked in. Cerberus is tired, and GAM is just online. They're just playing better, just mechanically outplaying time and time again. We're gonna see a replay, I think. No, it's Kiaya getting a solo kill because we saw the skill.
Oh,
He goes too fast, and the level up just keeps him going. The passive as well, and here it's just. Come on, man. All right, shush.
Sorry, I didn't think that would get picked up.
And yeah, we see very strong engage, and then it's beautiful tower juggling. They just have enough to burn through all these damage. And Yado picks up the old Unbreakable Will, but it's not enough to kill B. B looks like a little bit of a weird interaction there as B knocks the Hecarim towards the turret, and as Juhao clicks on him, so he gets dragged with the headbutt.
So I want to point out something, and I'm quite sure that this is the case, is I think what Yado has done, and this isn't incorrect, this is not a mistake from Yado, is he's maxing Q. In a mid lane matchup like this, where you want to be able to be ready to roam, yeah, you need to be able to shove. The issue there is he comes into 4, he gets the Unbreakable Will. If you're a W max, you might walk away with a triple there, but you can't be 2 skills max at once. So he comes in and he just doesn't have the ability to slay the kings.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they needed to slay the kings of the VCS.
Exactly.
It's gone, boys. And he's
he actually is a W max. I'm wrong. He actually is a W max. We just didn't do it. Fair enough.
And yeah, so he just kind of flubs the play. It doesn't work out for them, and now they are down 5k at 8 minutes, and it's just a disaster. Across the board, their really only saving grace is all those assists on style are assists and not kills, because if they were kills, that'd be a Kraken Slayer right about now. And
yeah, it's true.
And Juhao, he sees Levi on there and he just backs off. He doesn't even want to go for a cheeky drive-by smite. He just can't risk it at all. Now Levi might need to be a bit careful, as there's a potential to collapse on him, but with that ultimate, there's the response from Cardi is just too quick, and now they're going to just try and take away this blue buff from underneath Yado's nose. It's just pure, utter domination. It's up to 6k. It was only 5k a moment ago, but they've had to push the bot lane right back off, and that's just more turret plates, more pressure going to GAM's side, and this always happens to the VCS. We have 2 banger games, and then the third one's just a wet fart.
I mean, as particularly, you pointed it out as we got in. There was an hour of tech pause, there was a show match. It's late. Not just for us, but for the Vietnamese guys. GAM, they just want to go home. And GAM, when this is going to sound strange, a bored GAM is a deadly GAM.
Yeah, it's just pure. It's more so the fact that it's not GAM wanting to, if they're bored, they just go, oh, now we're going to win the VCS. It's more the fact that their level of skill just feels so much higher than the rest of the VCS that when it gets to these moments when when the whole teams are tired, both teams are just done with the day, it devolves into just mechanical skill, and that's where GAM shines. GAM have generally the best mechanical players in most positions, and they just style on you in these small micro movements, and we saw it in that bot lane dive. We saw it in the top lane. We're seeing it time and time again as Kiaya is trying to dirty farm pun. And
trying? Pretty successful at the moment. It's yeah, I mean, this is what GAM does to teams, and it's a shame that they've managed to do it to Cerberus here. But yeah, GAM is just kind of an unreal team when everything comes together, when they play their best. Yeah, it's just an insane team.
And now it makes, and things like this game make you look back at game 1 So I might have to hold this point for a second as B is
Yeah.
just
Oh, the
very
teleport. This
aggressive.
actually could be a turnaround as over the wall goes Yu Hao, getting a lot of damage in. There's the Twisted Fate ultimate being answered by a teleport as well. And it's just not a damage. That is being beaten to death by a wallet. There's the big barrel going on in. They've picked up 2. Pun arrives, but Pun doesn't do anything. All he is a pun, and not a very good one. That was barely even a wordplay.
That was not a wordplay at
And
all.
he just teleports top. Look at Cardi.
Yeah. Just teleports top. Now he's going to go crack another tower plate in that top lane as well. There's just no recourse for Cerberus. They are... And yeah, as I said, the styling that GAM is putting out makes you look back at game 1 of the series and go, why on earth did you ever try and play Cerberus' style? You could have gotten a nice clean 2-0, but you tried to flub it. And Pun, he thinks everyone's backed off, so he wants to go collect the wave, but GAM just bait and outsmart him. Just turn around, pick up the game.
Call the bully hunters. Someone call the bully hunters. He's being abused. It's not fair.
It's real bad.
This is rough.
It's real bad.
This is the real shame with Pun. I really feel like whenever they have him on the tanks, he does look better. I would have loved to see his Ornn, something that he normally goes to at a stretch when the Scion and the Renekton are banned. I get that the Scion wasn't available, but just go to the Ornn. You just can't match up with Kiaya. Kiaya is amazing. There's no shame in losing that matchup, Pun. There's no shame in that.
Thing is, I mean, when you're picking it, you think the matchup is going to go more or less like it did in game 1. You don't really pick your champions thinking, oh, we're just going to get styled on. Unfortunately, this is what's happened. They are just getting wrecked across the map, and it's looking to see where does Cerberus get back into it. You're looking for someone to really overstep. Preferably this Twisted Fate, because that's the biggest shutdown you can get right now. But now that's going to be yet another turret. No, they're going to just try and extend these turrets as long as they can. Dirty farm as much as they can. Deny all the farm that Cerberus can try and pick up. And look at Yano, he's just sitting in his jungle crying, basically. And there's Stam going in.
He's dead. Bang. Passive procs, and the Silas is dead. They're going to try and collapse. It is a 4v4, but 4v4, you're 11k gold down. In comes Cardi. He comes on in through the gate, and he's the gatekeeper, really. He's basically Fabi, as he is keeping Cerberus away from this win.
Yeah, it's a Cerberus meant to be the gatekeepers, but these gates are biting them in the butt. They try and make any play. Cardi's instantly there on response. And this is very much... I mean, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say it, but it's looking real good for GAM right about now.
Maybe we can try and jinx it so that we have a really... Because if Cerberus comes back, this might be the best game I've ever seen. Because I don't think they're going to. As Artemis gets his wings clipped, Huber is Hugh bad. As Cardi... Oh, not actually Cardi, sorry. Levi gets a double kill.
Levi gets that double kill. He wants those MVP points. We set it up at the start. We set it up all throughout the series. Yado and Artemis versus Levi and Cardi. Levi and Artemis contending for MVP. Cardi and Yado contending for best mid laner. I think GAM is putting down their stamp and saying, yeah, there is no chance that we are losing these crowns.
Yeah. Look, yeah.
Is there a collector? Because that felt like a collector.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real.
Kiaya's a man on a mission.
Kiaya is just like, he's drunk, he's off his bloody head, he's been on the sauce, doesn't even know where he is, and he sees a mate on the way home and goes, oi, who are you looking at? And then his big mate style gets out of the car, comes in, just mows them down. It's not even fair. Turns out it was just a 12-year-old child. It's a horrible act of gang violence, and GAM are just crushing
So, I like to think that you did this, by the way. You came into this game and you pulled a shocks on us. You
I
made
did
a
a
nice
little bit,
big
didn't
monologue
I?
of hype, and it's just a perfect game. Bye.
Does it count because my monologue wasn't scripted? I improv'd it. I'm not sure if that counts as a shot. Hang on. Let's try this. Okay, so GAM's really far ahead, and as we all know, it starts with success.
You'll away, please.
I don't even think a monologue would actually be able to turn this one around. It is 17 kills to 0. It is a 15k gold lead at 18 minutes.
At this point, you're just looking for Cerberus to break them, get the moral victory, and break the perfect game. It's down to Zhuhao getting a smite steal if that's all it is. But this is it feels so bad setting up with such a good first 2 games just to see them roll over and die like this. It's
I mean, it's the GAM effect, right? You can take
GAM aren't even
one,
bothering
but
with
you
side
can never
lanes.
take 2. It's only 18 minutes in. I mean, look, they played 2 games that had to go past 25 minutes. They're not happy, so they gotta make their time up. It's in their contracts. As the in-here falls, they're just gonna keep going forward. Shelly will charge at the Nexus towers now, of course.
Heckram
There's
on the flank.
stolen barrel. It doesn't matter. The vodka is thrown, but the revolution has been shut down. The forces of the Tsar are
Can they
far
get a kill?
too
Can they
powerful.
get a
There's
kill?
the onslaught of shadows. Can they stop the perfect game? It honestly doesn't look like it. As Kiaya is just walking around,
Kiaya,
standing
don't
under
you
tower.
Don't into the way. Don't into
Such a
the way.
ridiculous stomp. Carty goes into the ultimate. He just
Carty.
wants to kill Pun. It is 20 to 0. This is ridiculous. GAM is not fair. This team isn't fair. They're too
And I'm holding my
good.
breath. I'm holding my breath. I don't want to call it till it's have a perfect game. Yay!
How do they do it? Every time. I just don't.
I
They're so
cannot
good.
believe. At this point, I can never believe that GAM doesn't lose games on purpose, and not like in a
Rakan, what do you think? Is
not
GAM
like in a
pretty
bad
good?
way, but like they just sort of play worse than they should. They try stuff that they know they really shouldn't be winning on. Like that first game, they just drafted pretty much pound for pound a worse composition, a worse version of what Cerberus did, and then lost. However, shockingly enough.
Yeah.
And then you just get game 2 where they just style them.
Before you go too in depth, I'm going to throw you back over to the VCS English analyst desk. That is going to be good night from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast. If you liked the play-by-play, follow me on Twitter at EverydayCaster, and let me know if you enjoyed it, because I have horrible self-esteem and it really helps. Can't take it away, analysts.
Hello, lads. I'm still in a bit of shell shock. You see that? You see that down there? Match of the week. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're still keeping that there. I mean, the first 2 games are kind of. Oh, you know what, Rebel? I'm just gonna dare you to analyze that game. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Snowball. Does it. I'm done.
Okay.
Anyone want to add anything?
It was
Bobby,
just mechanical outplay
pointed-
time and time again.
Foods.
My spinner rock is upside down.
Mobby, Spood.
There you go. That was such a perfect game. Usually when you say perfect game, it's like no kills, no objectives, no towers, right? They didn't even get a single tower play that game.
Yeah,
Oh,
I wanted to make
God.
sure the tower plates weren't taken, because that is a perfect game. If any tower plates are taken, it's no longer a perfect game. They've ruined it
0
by
tower
doing
plays.
so. Yes.
Look, it was just a disgusting stomp from start to finish. There's not much you can say besides, well, GAM's first. GAM are 100% in first place. There's no chance.
Yeah, actually can
anyone's taking
show
that from them.
standings here. Actually, yes, here are the standings. They probably still can't hear me when it's going, so I'm just gonna show it. You guys can talk. Here are the standings, guys. Have fun.
Yeah. So I mean, like we said, GAM is number one. The competition starts to heat up, I guess, for MSI because at minimum, Cerberus gave us the chance in game number one. Even in game number two, it was competitive. So, like in a best of 5, maybe this changes. Maybe there's some other stuff to consider. Maybe GAM is holding back for playoffs just because they're holding some extra stuff in their back pocket because the meta and shifts into everything else. They had already locked that their buy was coming through. But of course, with the standings the way that they are right now, it doesn't matter too much. It's just a question of can anybody actually catch this team by the end of the split?
Yeah, and I guess now they get to confirm that they get to pick whoever ends up in 4th as their target to beat. And Cerberus are really happy they picked up that one game because it makes it even harder for SGB to try and overtake them. So because of that, and they really want that second place spot so they have a chance so they don't get immediately picked up against GAM. They can't be picked, and man, I don't know how to react after that.
I don't know. I think we're all in a bit of shell shock. And again, it has been a 7.5 game day for us technically, right? Casting those very high octane games at the start. I'm sure the players feel, out of their mind as well. So I'm just gonna ask you guys for your final thoughts. Like, that was definitely a day. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off? And keep in mind, we have 4 days of this week.
Yeah, we got
have
3. I was
4
about to say
more
we got 3 more days, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's just stay one. And yes, it was our match of the week, but I'm sure we got plenty more League of Legends. It's gonna be fun to watch as the league continues.
Yeah, Marby,
get-
you wanna sign off? Anything you wanna say?
Yeah, we got to see some. We got to see some fantastic games tomorrow. Most quite likely. I know there's SGB versus Flash. That should be a bit of a banger. You get to see some frogs kicking around the rift.
Frog Jam. And I think the second one is SBTC versus Luxury, which is
That's nobody. You know what? I'm not showing up for that. Nobody else has to show up for that. If they ask you to show up, just tell them I said you didn't have to.
I feel
I'm the doctor.
You got a sick note from Rebel.
I feel
You
like
gotta take note from me.
I genuinely feel like that game is going to surprise a lot of people because I have a feeling that it's just gonna be a banger and we are not prepared for it yet.
I'm genuinely convinced that will be the worst series that we witness all split. And I'm willing to take a bet with you for $1, Mr. Spoots.
Okay, I'll take that. Why not?
$1. If it's the worst series of the split, then you owe me $1. Otherwise, I'll give you $1.
Okay.
Hey, if Spoots
But is it an
wins,
American dollar?
He finally
$1
gets paid.
American dollar here.
$1 American dollar. But thanks for watching, everybody. I have to do a quick sign off. So if you liked what you saw, you can check out our socials, which will be on the Thanks for Watching page, which is coming right up. If you'd like to support the stream and help Mr. Everyday and our friend Marby over here keep the lights on at their new apartment, that would be very appreciated as well.
Oh no.
Oh, perfect timing. That's what happens if you don't donate, by the way. But no pressure. The rest of us, we are just here doing it because we love the VCS and we love interacting with all of you. So join the Discord, check out our Twitter, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, actually not same time. It'll be slightly earlier. Hopefully there's no pause. But we're going to be here tomorrow for some exciting day of for an exciting day of games as well. But for now, that's going to be us for the night. Good night. Have a good one. See ya.